Hi team, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here, and we are doing Awareness Month. So instead of my normal tips and tricks and focus on practical, proactive things that you can do to improve, I'm taking a realistic, this is what it's really like stance. And so it's probably less for people with chronic pain and fatigue and more for the people around them. My biggest hope is that we could eliminate the people who dismiss us and make it harder, because it's hard enough to live with these conditions, let alone having to deal with people who don't understand, don't want to understand, and downright downplay our symptoms. So let's talk about what it means to have chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue, again, is a very sanitizing word. It doesn't really convey the depth of what we're experiencing. And chronic fatigue is so much more than being a bit tired. Imagine being so tired but with no way to alleviate it, no way to mitigate it. I mean, yeah, you can rest a little bit, and you can try and sleep, and you can try this, that, and the other thing, but imagine knowing that you are exhausted from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, but knowing that going to sleep is not necessarily going to help that much. That's fatigue. And the fatigue, imagine it's like a film over your brain. So when you get to a certain level of fatigue, it can be hard to concentrate. It can be hard to remember things. It can be hard to focus and learn new things. It can be hard to articulate things. So one thing for me, I love to learn and I love to research and learn new things. But it's really difficult for me for a long time to actually get the knowledge out of my brain in a coherent manner, which is why I prefer to write things down, because it gives me a chance to kind of think it through and edit and fine tune. Because speaking off the top of my head is hard. Now I can do it for a lot of things around fibromyalgia now. I've been talking about this for 8 to 10 years online, and I've done a lot of research. But when we're getting into new topics and I'm learning new things, it's so hard for me to share it straight away because I can't access it well. So it took me a long time, for example, for low-dose naltrexone. I knew this medicine helped me, and I read all the research, and I know the mechanisms by which it helps, but it's still difficult for me to get it out of my brain in a coherent manner. And sometimes also fatigue not sometimes, a lot of times, fatigue hits physically. So can feel like you're wading through deep water, like it's so tiring just to do things and move. Some things like having a shower, you probably take that for granted if you don't have chronic pain or fatigue. Having a shower can be exhausting. Cooking dinner can be exhausting. Peeling the potatoes, cutting things up, doing the dishes, just standing for that amount of time is exhausting. Trying to go for a walk. You might think taking a 10-15 minute walk around the block is nothing. For someone with fatigue, that can be quite a feat. I have done very well. I am quite far on my healing journey. I've halved my pain and fatigue levels, but still for me, 6,000 to 7,000 steps a day is enough. If I do more than that, I get what we call post-exertion malaise. So it's like pain and fatigue after the exertion, which makes it really difficult. So I can actually do the thing. So I could take a long walk, for example, and it would have to be I'd have to be in pretty bad shape, and the walk would have to be pretty long for me to feel it at the time. But the next day, the fatigue and the pain is out of this world. Like if I overdo it, my legs and my low back burn, just because of overdoing it. So there's no real built-in mechanism to say, stop now, please. So we've got to watch our Fitbits. We've got to use our Fitbits or other trackers to kind of modify our activities, reduce our activities, keep our heart rate low. So it's really important when you have fatigue not to overdo and get your heart rate really high, because that just makes everything worse. And another kind of side effect, when your fatigue gets really bad, some people suffer postural orthostatic intolerance. And so when my fatigue is really bad, if I try to get up too quickly, I get very dizzy, and I nearly faint and fall down. Because the blood flow needs time. Our body needs time to readjust to the change in position. So it's really deep in there. There's a lot going on. Fatigue impacts everything. I mean, digestion takes a lot of energy. So can you imagine if you've got a lot of energy going into your digestion, and a lot of energy just to walk down the block and back and cook dinner? There's not a lot left for everything else. Chronic fatigue is all day, every day. Chronic fatigue is potentially a little bit mitigated by rest, but not really. There's no time where we wake up with full energy. It's chronic by definition. So think about all of those things next time someone tells you they have chronic fatigue. Think about the fact that they probably have to go to bed early. They probably miss out on things they want to do. They probably can't work as much as they want or do hobbies as much as they want. They probably can't be there for their kids as much as they want. Or if they are doing these things, they're probably not feeling great. I try and stay out late sometimes, but I inside just feel so bad. Like you just kind of start to fade away. And then I actually start to feel physically sick. I'm not sure the mechanism by which that happens, but just be aware of that's what it's like, right? And so if someone with chronic fatigue says, could we maybe hang out earlier in the day? They're not doing it to be fussy, they're doing it to make it so that they can really enjoy your company. So that's just a little snapshot of what it's really like living with fatigue. Other people, I'd love it if you could share your experience as well, because mine is obviously very different. I'm very far on my journey, and we're all different and we all have existing factors. So share your journey and your knowledge, please. Let me know how you explain chronic fatigue to people, if you even bother anymore, so that we can also share that knowledge, because it can be really difficult to explain it. Obviously, it's taken me 6 minutes to try and explain it. So if I've been doing this for 8 to 10 years, it's kind of difficult to make it succinct, right? Let me know, and I'll see you next time. Happy Awareness Month.